Welcome to the Non North Sports Podcast, episode 14. This is the home of sports talk for everyone. I'm David.
I'm Jason.
Welcome aboard for episode 14. Now, we all know Super Bowl passed, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have just won the Super Bowl. Tom Brady getting his 7th. Jeez.
It's pretty much what we expected it. We didn't want to predict it, but it's pretty much what we thought was going to happen.
Well, we said it last episode. That's what we thought who was going to win. They won.
Right.
That's how it was. I mean, Tom Brady just basically cemented himself as the GOAT of all time,
Yeah, you can't argue with it at this point.
No. I mean, 10 Super Bowl appearances, 7 wins. I mean, even if he retires, I still say he's a first-round Hall of Famer.
I think he's a lock for first-round Hall of Fame. Without a doubt, the GOAT. Man, not going too much into this because we got a lot to talk about tonight. The Chiefs' defense was sloppy.
Did the Chiefs show up?
Their defense cost them the game, and the Bucs' defense was phenomenal.
Well, don't get me wrong. There's some penalties on there that were kind of like, really? That were key points to the Buccaneers getting like first downs. But
there was sloppy play. There were dumb penalties.
Well, the offensive line wasn't protecting for the Chiefs.
Right, but you also had guys pushing people after plays and that ridiculous holding call in the end zone on Antonio Brown. There was just dumb moves on the Chiefs defense.
And when you give Brady X amount of time where he could make a sandwich and enjoy it, then make the pass.
It sounds like something out of Ren and Stimpy. Jesus.
Oh, good old Ren and Stimpy. Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, when you can give that a guy of that caliber that kind of time, he's going to pick you apart. And plus also being that Tampa Bay won the Stanley Cup last year in the NHL, does that make Tampa right now the city of champions?
It was pretty close because the Rays were in the World Series. And then think about this. In all 4 of the big sports, a Florida team was involved in the finals.
Exactly. So you don't normally see that all too much or at all. In general, you don't see that. So congratulations to the Buccaneers.
Yeah, congrats, Bucs fans. Enjoy the victory.
From a team that didn't make the playoffs last year to win a Super Bowl this year, I mean, you're just missing one key opponent, the quarterback, apparently.
A sip of water for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. Have fun.
Right? Enjoy it. So on to the first period, minor league baseball. Some that we'll go into those minor league games, not just because they're cheap, but they're just fun to see the ballparks, the different types and styles.
Yeah, I love minor league ball. I love seeing guys on the way up. Sometimes you're seeing guys on the way down. I've yet to see actually anyone on a rehab assignment. But I mean, minor league baseball to me is as much as I love the Phillies, and we obviously know that at this point, minor league baseball it's a great thing. It's pure.
Oh, because it's players that want to make the show. They want to make the big time. So that's where, it's like you want to see the best plays.
Right. There's definitely been some changes since the last time we had minor league baseball, which was in 2019. And they're going to be doing 120 games instead of 140. The division realignment is interesting, I think. I don't know if you've had time to take a look at it. The closest teams for us are in Double-A. Double-A is now broken down into three separate leagues, 3 Double-A leagues. You're going to have the Double-A Central, Double-A South, and then for us, it's going to be the Double-A Northeast, where the Reading Fightin' Phils are going to be in the Northeast Division, and the Harrisburg Senators, of which we're wearing gear from tonight, they are going to be in the Southwest Division. So the Reading Phils and the Senators are still not going to be in the same division in the league, but they do play each other twice this season. So since we're talking about the realignment and the schedules, I did check out the Sens and the Fightin' Phils schedules. These teams in Double-A for sure are playing each other 6 games in a row.
Jeez.
So
Talk about knowing your opponent.
I think like in July, Reading and Harrisburg play each other in Reading 6 games in a row. And then they each go their separate ways to play another team 6 games in a row. So instead of 3 games here, 3 games there, they're doing a legit almost an entire week in one town for games.
Well, I hope at that point when the games do happen, we can actually go to the games, because that would definitely be something to get back to going to baseball. At least the minor league baseball games.
It would be very nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking a wait and see approach. The dollar hot dogs.
Yep.
Always goes back to food. Some interesting things I saw.
The baseball part. Hey, we discussed it. We discussed it in previous episode. Food makes the world go round.
So one of the things I thought was really cool, because we've talked about, we've kind of glanced over independent baseball on the show so far. One of the bigger things I wanted to point out that in the AA Northeast League, the Somerset Patriots, who used to be in the Atlantic League of Independent Baseball, are now the Yankees AA affiliate.
Interesting.
So they went from independent ball to affiliated ball. There's another big one from independent ball to affiliated ball, and it's in AAA East. It's in the North and Midwest Division. The St. Paul Saints, who are partly owned by Bill Murray, they have long been an independent team.
I want us to do a Caddyshack theme.
I'm sure they do. He's a huge baseball fan. Like him and his brother had like a TV show where they visit different ballparks. And I don't think a TV show, like a Facebook show or something. But the St. Paul Saints are now the official AAA affiliate for the Twins, and that's pretty freaking cool because they've been a minor or independent team since 1993.
Well, yeah, a lot of those guys now can actually, they can go for something now. But
guys in independent ball, though, some of them end up in the majors or in the minors. So,
but what are the chances?
For the Atlantic League, pretty good. The Atlantic League's had some good turnover. Now, if we talk about the Pecos League, that's a whole different story. Those guys are paying to play independent baseball.
Now, imagine that if you're on a team owned by Bill Murray, you're walking up to the plate, and you hear the lovely scene from Caddyshack. He's a Cinderella man.
I thought you were going to say I'm All Right by Kenny Loggins playing when he wakes up. I'd be okay with that.
I honestly, though, I wouldn't be able to keep a straight face if that scene start playing. I could not keep a straight face. I'd be losing it.
Oh, one more thing. The Sugarland Skeeters, who were part of the Atlantic League, they are now the Houston Astros AAA affiliate. So not only has there been turnover in minor league baseball, there's been turnover in independent baseball to minor league baseball. So a lot of really interesting stuff happened since 2019.
Oh yeah, a lot of changes. Even just look at the list of everything that's changed. Like you just said, a lot of teams that were independent now are minor league affiliates. Instead of just by themselves.
Right. I definitely think for AA purposes, I think AA Northeast might be the most competitive because there is 12 teams in that league. Looking at AAA, I think AAA East is going to be a tough league because there's 20 teams in that league compared to
I was going to say there's a ton of teams. I mean, you would think they would like break them out like they did in the others. But why they'd have that many in one, who knows?
Now with that said, and as we had talked about previously when we talked about the realignment, there's going to be some teams that weren't going to be part of affiliated ball. And that leads us to the Draft League, which we had talked about privately before, because that does affect 3 teams in Pennsylvania and a team that I've seen play against Pennsylvania teams. So the Draft League is going to be a 68-game regular summer season league It's going to be on the same level of the Cape Cod College League. So these are going to be college players who are going to be sophomore to junior age, playing in an MLB official collegiate summer league. So for us, local-wise, you'd have the State College Spikes and the Williamsport Crosscutters are going to be part of the draft league, as well as the West Virginia Black Bears, the Trenton Thunder, and the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. So that's going to keep MLB affiliated baseball, not minor league baseball, but it's going to keep some type of MLB affiliated baseball in those baseball towns, and that's really good.
Yeah, because especially when you mentioned the crosscutters up in Williamsport. I mean, if or when Little League kicks back up, I mean, the Little League World Series is held up in Williamsport, and every year for the past X amount of time, they've always had MLB teams up there. So that imagine playing in a field when you're in the pros, and now, you go back to where you started.
Well, here's my thing. I think that plays into why Williamsport is part of the draft league. I think MLB wants to keep that game involved with MLB. They want to keep using that stadium, and I think it's a great move of them to keep the crosscutters as part of this draft league so that they still can do that.
Well, yeah, they need to because of the Little League World Series. It's just kind of it's all one big circle when it comes down to it.
The thing that I find interesting, just speaking on a local level, State College. I mean, we're in Penn State country, but State College is not, and Penn State is not a baseball school.
No, it's mainly football, and actually now in hockey.
So the fact that the Spikes are staying, and I think that might be more of a distance reason than any other. But my thought is it's got to be that has to be the main reason why they're keeping them. I don't think Roy Halladay's son is going to make that big of a difference as a pitcher for Penn State, that Penn State is suddenly going to become a big baseball school.
Hey, you never know.
You never know, but I'm going to err on the side of probably not.
Yeah, it's very slim, but chances are there.
So that's going to start. I don't think I have a date yet on it. I know it's going to have.
I didn't see a date on it.
They're going to have an all-star game, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't see a date on when they're looking for that.
And this is pretty cool. So anyone who participates in the draft league is going to also be part of an educational program designed to prepare them for a career as a professional baseball player.
That's cool.
That is cool. So I'm fairly certain some of the State College Spikes players are going to be Penn State baseball players. I think a lot of those guys are playing baseball for Penn State for the sheer fact they'll get a good education.
Okay, actually, I just looked at one of the links here. I want to, according to this, the season will begin with 14 games played on consecutive days for the first off day coming June 7th. The remainder of the season will consist of 6 games per week. Let's see here. Opening day in July 8th. So possibly between June 7th, probably around that is when we'll see the first ones unless something changes.
Nice.
So
another thing I want to get at, since we're talking about minor league baseball, and we mentioned the Atlantic League, the St. Paul Saints are part of the American Association. For kicks and giggles, I'll mention the Frontier League and the Pioneer League with this. They are all now MLB Partner Leagues.
Awesome.
So basically, they have an agreement where they will meet regularly with MLB to discuss joint marketing and promotional opportunities, including shared goals between these leagues and MLB.
Yeah, at least you have these types of league, getting a look at at some type of pro level.
Well, I mean, the guys in independent ball they're making money, and not great money, but they're making money. Like the Atlantic League, I think they pay out between $2,500 to $5,000 a month, maybe. So that's not anything to sneeze at. I mean, a lot of these guys are clearly playing to love the game, and they're either trying to go back one more time to affiliated ball, or they're trying to get to affiliated ball for the first time. The 4 leagues that are part of the Partner League, the Atlantic League, American Association, Frontier, and Pioneer Leagues, they are the 4 top level independent leagues. I would say Atlantic is the top, and then it trickles down American Association, Frontier, and Pioneer. It's smart of MLB to partner up with them because these leagues have lasted for quite a while. The Atlantic League in particular, they've been around since 98. The Frontier League, I want to say, has been around since the Frontier League has been around in some form or another since 93 because they used to be the Northern League. But here's my thing. Are these leagues would you consider them independent now that they are associated with MLB in this way?
I'd say no, because they are associated with an MLB. I mean, because independent is in my thought wise, independent is where they're just by themselves. They don't, they trade between other independent, teams, if that's how that works.
Right.
But when you get your affiliation with a higher level team, like let's say let's say with the NHL, they go from NHL, they could drop down to the AHL, to the ECHL, where now with MLB, they have these different types. And if you got an independent team going into an affiliation, then to me, they're not an independent anymore. They're now affiliated with somebody.
Right. But I mean, these leagues and these teams aren't affiliated with this. Like the Lancaster Barnstormers aren't affiliated with a specific team, but their league is part of this partner program with MLB.
But yet though, these players though are still able to have a chance to get to MLB.
Their
so
chance
to me,
is probably greater now than it was before.
But still, they're now in a system where they can move up. They can have the chance to get that, to that MLB level, which is what every baseball fan wants to do.
Right.
They don't want to just, sit there and all that. And, if they can get a chance to go up top, get the money they want, chances, or they love playing baseball in the month, they'd rather stay. I'm just going to use Lancaster because that's what we just said. Don't get me wrong. When we went down, great game for the Blue Crabs that we ate.
Just spitballing quick, because the 2 teams independent wise that are closest to us are Lancaster and York. I would say if they were to be affiliated, I would say York's probably going to Baltimore.
Yeah, maybe.
Where would Lancaster go? Because they're too close to be a Phillies affiliate especially with Reading right there.
Yeah, where would they go? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, hell, for all we know, they could be going to Baltimore too.
In that
or
case,
they could go to Philly.
In that case, I would say the next best thing for York would be to be part of the Nats affiliation in some way, shape, or form, because it would fit the York Revolution, the Washington Nationals, the Harrisburg Senators, so on. Just throwing that out there because who knows what could happen. They were both affiliated teams many, many decades ago. But we'll have to see how this season plays out. I think minor league baseball is going to be really interesting this year.
I just want to get back to the games.
I do too, trust me.
Especially going to Senators games where, what was it, the spot?
Yes, the spot.
Yes, of course, back to food. Oh. When you can get all those loaded hot dogs and everything else. So yeah, let's just hope we get back there soon and see some good baseball.
Amen.
So on that note, that's the end of period 2. Start of period 2 here. This just happened recently. The Colts picked up Carson Wentz from the Eagles. Now, who all don't know Carson Wentz, he has at the beginning of his career, when he was picked up, he was basically supposed to be the golden boy for the Eagles.
That's always a bad thing.
Well, it's Philadelphia. Every time they pick up a new quarterback or a new, let's say, goalie for, let's say the Flyers, something always happens.
There's a reason I stay far away from Eagles players in fantasy football.
Well, yeah, because it's Philadelphia. They always get injured. Philadelphia always gets injured players.
So, I mean, before, as soon as he asked for a trade, the rumor was immediately that he was going to go to the Colts because it was the best fit for him. The Colts were the only ones who made an offer for him. To me, that speaks volumes. I know
that nobody wanted him?
Yeah. I know some Colts fans, they're pretty high on this. The reason being is that the Eagles' former offensive coach or offensive coordinator during Wentz's tenure there is now the Colts head coach, Frank Reich.
Okay.
And he seemed to respond really well playing with Frank Reich as his defensive or his offensive coordinator. So there's belief in the Colts fans base that this is going to be really good for the Colts. Here's the thing. Wentz was unhappy. He made it known he was unhappy this season. There was a breakdown between him and Doug Peterson. Whatever that was, I think it led to Peterson being fired. Obviously, the team underperformed as well.
Well, from what I've been hearing, though, they actually were protecting Wentz's ego. They weren't actually holding him accountable for his issue, for all the mistakes that he was making. How true that is, I don't know. But the fact that that's what I heard, and maybe that's why they just he started on the decline, basically, in Philly. Maybe with going to Indy, it may spark up again as he's a great quarterback. Who knows?
Indy's a great franchise. They've had great quarterbacks, obviously. My thing with Wentz, and I have no stake in the game. I haven't had a favorite NFL team since I've been playing fantasy football. It's impossible to do, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you love to hate fantasy football.
I do. Wentz, to me, Wentz isn't the guy. He's not the guy who's going to lead you to victory road. He's not the guy that's going to take you to the promised land. One, he's super injury prone.
That he is.
He hasn't had a lot of full seasons in the NFL since he's been playing because he's injury prone. So there's a durability issue. I'm not saying it's a toughness issue. There is a durability issue with Carson Wentz. He could be a liability for a team.
Oh, absolutely, he could be. Well, think of this though. The year they won the Super Bowl, he played that good run. He had a good run all the way up. Then all of a sudden, he got injured. Everything was in question.
I think that was week 14.
Something like that. I think it was.
The day after the game, Wentz revealed to have a torn ACL. That was week 14. So from week 14 to the Super Bowl, it was Nick Foles who led that team.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Foles has been Go ahead.
I was going to say, Nick Foles, wasn't he about ready to give up on football in general?
Yes.
And then he comes back to win the Super Bowl.
MVP of the Super Bowl.
Yes, MVP of the Super Bowl. And yet they get rid of him. Typical Philly.
Well, here's the thing. They had Wentz's contract.
Well, Wentz, what has Wentz done since coming back from that injury? What has he done?
Not sticking up for Wentz, but the argument could also be, what did Peterson do? Because he is the coach.
Well, either or. It just seems like there's been a falling out
in the case
time.
of what we saw with Brady and Belichick, right now the argument could go that it is the player, not the coach. I don't know with the Eagles. I don't know. Is Wentz not a team leader, which I think can be taken into account. If they're protecting his ego, there's an issue. Yes, you do need some kind of I don't want to say ego, but you definitely need some kind of a presence to be an NFL quarterback.
You need accountability.
But you do need accountability. And
I think that's the thing. If they're not holding him accountable, he's just doing whatever he wants. He's going rogue.
And I think that's why guys like a Peyton Manning, like a Tom Brady, like a Ben Roethlisberger, that's why they've lasted so long.
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees is another one.
You know,
Phillip Rivers and his 12 kids.
Right?
He has a whole football team on his. Never mind. Anyway, but I don't think. And look, I'll eat my hat if I'm wrong, and he proves me wrong. And in Indianapolis, he is the guy. I just don't think he is the guy.
I think he'd be the guy for like a backup quarterback, but I don't think he wanted that just because of what happened in Philly, because that's what he basically was going to be, was a backup quarterback if he would have stayed.
And he didn't want that. He wants to be the man, and I don't know if he is the man.
I mean, from what his contract is, they would get a 2022 conditional pick if he takes 70% of the snaps. That's only an if.
Also heard that with the draft picks they have gotten, the Eagles are planning to draft a quarterback again.
Well, they got him for a 2021 third round.
But also I think they're the 6th pick in the first round as well, because of where they finished.
Yeah. But it's to me, if you're supposed to be considered a top end quarterback, or I should say a top quarterback, and you get just traded for draft picks, and this is with any sport. Myself, just thinking to myself, it's like being traded for a used puck bag. I mean, it's like here's a 12 pack of beer that's empty. That's what we're trading you for. I mean,
so off topic. Similar reference. Jake Arrieta was just signed with the Cubs again. He's back to the Cubs after 3 terrible years with the Phils. Let me phrase that: 3 not so great years with the Phils. He showed flashes of brilliance, but he's past his prime. One of the admins in the Baseball Together admin chat that I'm in, one of the fellow admins, she's a Cubs fan, and I said, I don't know why you guys would go after Arrieta when the Phils basically got him for the equivalent of some used balls and used jock straps.
Well, I bet you that went over like a lead balloon.
Oh no, she thought it was funny. The Baseball Together admin chat's fun all the time. Good people in there. Obviously, Brad and Brig, and then Denise, who's the Cubs fan.
But yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion, that if you get traded for just any type of just regular draft picks, that's just like getting traded for a used pack bag or used jock straps. I mean, it's just that's just not looking good for a player. And to expect to be a starter, I don't see that happening. He may start a couple of games, but I don't see him being 100% starting every game like you see Tom Brady does, or Drew Brees, or Ben Roethlisberger. I don't see that happening. Not with them.
Right. No, I don't think he's that guy, but I'd rather be surprised than not. Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like you, I have nothing with this. Like I have like no interest, or not. Actually, I don't have a horse in the race on this. It's just one of those interesting things where, at first, when he came into the Eagles, he's going to take them to, multiple Super Bowls, or hell, at this point, multiple playoffs. And when you really don't, it just turned into a flub.
Right.
At this point. So, that's just, it's not looking good for his career right now, in my opinion. Just because of what the directions he's been going, his injuries. I mean, as you said,
that's what it comes down to, is his injuries. His injuries, I think, are going to prevent him from being the guy. He's just not durable. And if you want to be the man, you want to be what's the word I'm looking for here? The franchise quarterback. You got to be durable. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger has had how many concussions?
Mm-hmm.
He bounces back. He's
His head off
slower.
the ground.
He's slower, but he still scrambles. He takes hits and he gets back up and he plays. He's a tough dude. He's durable. I can't say that about Carson Wentz.
No, he's not durable because if you think about it, the chances of injury in the 2001 season, they're saying it's an 83% chance that he's going to get injured.
You're putting a lot of faith on someone who's injury prone with that kind of percentage to lead your team.
You think? I mean, the projected games missed, 2.3 games. In a 16, in 16 games that are normally played in a 17-week season, 2.3 games. Okay,
that could make or break something.
Yeah, that could change the momentum. I mean, look what the Steelers. They lose one game and it just goes downhill.
I mean, it's better to lose those games early than late. But if you lose those 2 games late in the season, that could be the difference between playoffs and sitting at home.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's chance of injury per game, 10.5%. I mean, either way, he's not going to be – I think he's going to get injured no matter how you look at it because of his track record.
No, I agree.
There's something that is going to make him, whether it be a concussion, an arm, something. Something's going to happen. He's going to have to sit out games.
Right.
And just like what they did in Philly, bring in the backup. Because how many times have we seen backup quarterbacks never go back out? Tom Brady was one of them. He went in for Drew Bledsoe. Now look at him.
Yeah.
7 Super Bowls later. I should say
right.
7 Super Bowl wins later.
I would say though Brady is the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of those things to where Philly and quarterbacks really don't mesh too well together.
Well, they haven't in recent years.
Well, there's a list that we can put up with basically all the Philly quarterbacks, how many games they actually played, and the year it actually was that they played in. And going through the whole Eagles series, the whole Eagles quarterback listings, I picked this off of games where it was over 5 games. If it was was 5 and under, it was very questionable.
I added one. Didn't know that was your criteria simply because this guy was the Eagles quarterback longer. He did have some injury seasons, but he was the man for a long time in Philadelphia. Probably still considered a great quarterback in the city of Philadelphia.
Well, Randall Cunningham, yeah. I mean, he played 11 seasons. I mean, it's not like he played like some of the people on the criteria. Some of the people only played 4 seasons, and that's it.
He was the man for the Eagles from.
I
mean, really, he was Jaworski's backup in 85 and 86. I want to say. Let me double check that. Sorry here. Yeah, he was the backup in 85 and 86.
Mm-hmm.
See, Ron Jaworski was a great quarterback for the Eagles, and that's a heck of a guy to back up. And then he was with them till 95.
Oh yeah, Randall Cunningham. Yeah, he left and then came back.
And then let's think about this.
Or no,
that 1980.
I'm sorry, he did not leave and come back.
No, he did not. He was injured.
No, I misread that. That's what I was thinking.
But now think about this: had they not played that whiteout game against the Bears in the 88 playoffs, that 88 Eagles team probably would have won the Super Bowl that year.
Probably.
Because they were 10-6, first in the NFC East. The only reason they lost that game against the Bears was because of the weather conditions.
You had
the Fog Bowl.
Yep, the Fog Bowl. You had Norm Snead, Snead, from 1964 to 1970. And then you had, of course, Rondrowski from, was it 77 to 86?
Yep.
And then, of course, we just discussed Randall Cunningham. Donovan McNabb from 99 to 09, with one Super Bowl appearance. And then after that, that was really it. There was really no team, no quarterback for the Phillies that basically lasted over 5 seasons.
Right. Recently, after
Carson
McNabb,
Wentz,
you had Kevin Kolb for a season, Michael Vick for 3, Foles for a season, Sam Bradford for a season, and then Wentz was there for
5 seasons.
5 seasons, give or take, if what you want to consider.
Yeah. Well, in 2019, he played all 16 games. I think that was the first year he did not sit out for injury.
16 and 19.
Yeah. What did I say?
No, you said 19, but I'm adding 16 to that as well.
Okay. Oh yeah, 16. Yep, 16. Yep, I just skipped over that apparently.
I would argue 17 simply because Foles is the guy after Week 14 who took him to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would argue that too. Just
Nick Foles. We're deviating, and I know that Nick Foles is the epitome of what Philadelphia sports fans love. He's hardworking, and he's basically
he doesn't quit.
He's a sports folk hero. That's what he is. He's not like a superstar, but he's a hardworking dude who hit at the right time for the Eagles, flourished under Doug Peterson and that offense, and took him to the promised land and won that Super Bowl for them. And
he beat Tom Brady.
One of the few guys to do that.
Well, Tom Brady and Eli Manning. The only 2 quarterbacks to actually
You mean Nick Foles and Eli Manning?
Who did I say?
You said Tom Brady and Eli Manning.
Wow,
it's late
right now. Jeez. But yeah, it's the only 2 quarterbacks, Nick Foles, Eli Manning, to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. I mean, Nick Foles of all people to beat Tom Brady.
BD Nick.
And for a player who was going to give up football altogether.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's who knows if this is going to flourish for the Colts. See what happens. Maybe the Eagles can get a good draft pick and see what happens. Yeah. So on that note, that is the end of period 2. All right, on to period 3. The period that everybody loves to hear us talk about here.
Maybe not after this one.
What's that?
Maybe not after this one.
Oh, probably not. But this one is teams you love to hate. So there's a lot of different things, that we both discussed earlier on why we hate certain teams. So
why don't you lead off? You have one more than I do, so.
So do you want me to lead off with that one since we have 2 of the same leagues?
Yeah, do no particular order. Just right. I'll go in between your picks, and then you open it up and close it down. There you go.
So one of my picks is for the NHL, the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Doesn't surprise me.
You don't say. Basically, the reason why I picked the love to hate them is because of just the rivalry since I'm a Flyers fan. And this has gone back well before the Sidney Crosby era.
Right.
Which everybody thinks that's when it all started. No, it started well before.
The Penguins and the Flyers have a great rivalry. I mean, that's not
the Battle of Pennsylvania.
Not to hijack your comment here. The Penguins have had a lot of good teams over the years. And especially in the 90s when the Penguins had a great team and the Flyers had a great team, those were great games. I'm using the word great a lot, but it fits.
Absolutely. Well, think of this though. Back in 2000, I think it was May, the 5 overtime game.
I think didn't you have that on tape?
I have that on DVD as one of the top 10. I think it was the box set for the top 10 Flyer games, and that 5 overtime game. I mean, think about it. When you go 5 overtimes in a game, and I think it was that game alone that changed the series because the Flyers ended up winning the series.
That made it an instant classic, obviously.
Well, I think they call it the marathon game too.
There's been a lot of those.
Yeah, there has. Especially last year. But I don't know. I picked the Pens because of the big rivalry between the Flyers and the Pens. The Battle of Pennsylvania, which we said this in other episodes before. It would be great to see an outdoor game.
At State College.
In Beaver Stadium. I just think that'd be awesome. Yes, we did see one at the Link a few years ago, which was a fantastic game to see just because the Flyers did win.
But Beaver Stadium be a neutral site.
Yeah, because it's halfway basically between both areas.
Yeah, 3 hours probably each way.
Yeah.
No, I think for you that's a great pick. And it makes a lot of sense based on the rivalry. I mean, this is definitely the Penguins are definitely a team that brings it to anything.
Oh yeah.
They aren't a slouch team. So I can understand why you as a Flyers fan would hate them and why Penguins fans hate Flyers fans.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's all Pennsylvania rivalry, and it's just a team that, well, recently, even with the Crosby era, they won 3 cups already, and it was always one of those things where it was like, oh, great, Penguins are in the playoffs. Ah, great, here we go. Which of course I can deviate a lot more with this, but
that's literally why we're having this topic.
well, it's more on players than it actual, the general history of the team.
Well, that could be a whole different third period. Is players
exactly?
Then I might have a list a mile long.
Yes, probably. But yeah, like I said, with the Penguins, it just, I have a buddy who's a Penguins fan that, me and him go back and forth a lot of times with different things just because of just how it is.
Yeah.
With the rivalry. So that's that.
Okay, so my first one, and man, for the last couple of years, this might be like kicking a puppy. The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I can see that one.
There's a couple reasons, or there's more than a couple reasons. One, and this is something you could maybe get into with other teams, but other teams seem to back it up a lot more, and their success is much more storied. Man, the Cowboys and their fans live off of that 90s dynasty. Like they are true. Trust fund babies. Jesus.
That is true. They do live off of that.
Look, I'm getting into one of your picks, and I'm sorry. Yankees fans are justified in talking about 27 World Series championships. They are. The Cowboys talking about 4 Super Bowl wins in 1990. Shut up. The Steelers have a dynasty. The Pats have a justified dynasty. You guys got lucky because you haven't replicated it since. No. And you have a crap owner who thinks he's a GM. The fans, they're America's team, and most football fans hate them. Yes. How egotistical is your franchise that you think you're America's team? Why? Because you have a star on your helmet? Come on. Their fans are obnoxious. Their fans are obnoxious. The team's garbage. And you think that they were the second coming of football because of the 90s. Stop. And half those guys on the 90s team were freaking borderline criminals that because of Jerry Jones' money, nothing happened to him. And I'm talking about Michael Vick, who freaking started a fight with a freaking volunteer referee at a charity basketball game in the 90s. Good job for you, Michael Vick, beating up a freaking 50-some-year-old fat guy calling a basketball game that you were playing in.
Gee, tell us how you really feel on that one.
It's just the ridiculousness of that 90s Cowboys team and why these fans hang their hat on that.
Well, I mean,
let me state this before we continue. Tony Romo, way better play-by-play guy than Troy Aikman could ever be. I'm done.
Are you sure it was Michael Vick with the Cowboys?
Not Michael Vick. I'm sorry, Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin.
Okay,
I'm
Michael
so
Irvin.
sorry. We were talking Michael Vick last period, and now it was on my mind.
There you go.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin beat up a 50-year-old overweight guy who's a volunteer freaking referee for a charity basketball game. Good for you. You really proved something, jerk.
Well, like you said, I mean, it has a star in the helmet. Is that just they're just a one-star team?
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. Just
tell us how you really feel. Come on, just get it off your chest. Just say it. But yeah,
their fans are obnoxious, and the franchise is obnoxious, and Jerry Jones is the worst freaking owner and GM ever.
Well, the fact that an owner calls himself a GM and just because he has the money,
the freaking chutzpah it takes to do that is impressive, but his choices for players is not impressive.
Yeah, but he has the money. That's one thing you can't take away from him is the money that he has the money.
Yeah. What's your next one?
Well, staying with football here, I picked the Patriots.
Justifiable.
Just because everybody hates them because just like, they're always in the playoffs. They're always winning.
Except for this year.
Right? They didn't make the playoffs this year. Gee, imagine that. They got, Tom Brady left and, oh, look. But no, that's a team that actually backed up, hey, we can win. We have 6 rings.
But they did back it up. So I have a theory on the Pats. If they have that success with a coach that isn't Bill Belichick, I don't think they get the flack they do.
I think what with Bill Belichick, though, is all those cheating scandals, too.
I think that is part of I think Belichick and the scandals, and because the scandals surround him, I think that's a big reason for why it's easy to hate the Pats and their success.
Oh, yeah.
I think you have a different coach in there, and they have that success. It's a totally different story.
Oh, I agree with that just because of everything that you've had. I mean, you've had, Spygate, Deflategate, what other kind of things they had.
Because, I mean, you look at the Pats, other than Gronkowski, there really wasn't a lot of – I'm sure they were cocky, but they never came off as cocky. Whereas Gronk is Gronk, and he is a cocky football player.
He likes to have fun.
He's a bro.
But he likes to have fun.
Is that what we call it? So speaking of Gronk, deviation again. So like he signed a WWE contract for like a half a minute last year before he came out of retirement. Now I didn't watch WrestleMania last year or the last couple of years actually, but he was part of it. He was the host of WrestleMania, and he was going to dive off of a balcony. Because it was at the Performance Center where they have their training school for WWE, and he was afraid to jump off the balcony for the spot he was going to do. Right? You know who showed him how to do it safely?
Who?
Vincent freaking McMahon. Freaking Vince McMahon in his 70s and in his plaid suit, because the video is on YouTube and I've watched it. Jumps off this freaking balcony to show Gronk that it's safe. It's absolutely ridiculous to watch, and to know that this is a 70-something CEO of a billion-dollar company, be it wrestling or what, is doing this to show a former pro football player that it's safe to do it.
Well, hey, he's putting his money where his mouth is, though.
He's known to do that.
But no, I just think the Patriots, because of all the times that they've won, all the times they're just a constantly winning team. They constantly have all the records, leading up to last year, all the appearances of playoffs that they had. And it's like when they make it to the playoffs, you expect them to win.
You do, because
when you have that expectation, you have that every time you see them in the playoffs, you're like, here we go again.
Yeah,
another Tom Brady, another Patriots win.
God, I hope so and so can beat them, and they don't, because they were just that good in the playoffs. They were. Mm-hmm. They were almost a lock every time they were in the playoffs. Almost, but not always.
No, but the funny thing is, though, every time, despite you could hate the other team that the Patriots are going against, you still
were rooting for that team.
Exactly. Yes, despite it could be, for all the let's say the people who hate the who hate the Steelers.
There's a lot.
And if they were paying the Patriots, you were going for the Steelers. Just because they're going to be, you just want them to beat the Patriots.
Lesser of two evils, yeah.
Just because you didn't want Tom Brady to get another ring. So that's, love to hate that team.
Okay,
what's your next pick?
So my second and final pick, because I really couldn't think of a lot of teams I outright dislike enough to say I hate. So this was actually a really hard one for me. Actually, let me rephrase that. This pick was not hard. It was my immediate number one pick. I felt like I had to throw the Cowboys in because I just dislike the Cowboys that much. And again, I don't have a favorite football team. I just dislike the Cowboys and their fan base. So my next pick are the Washington Nationals, and this is a well-known pick of mine for most people. And this stems more from their fan base than it does the team as a whole, although I think their ownership is crappy. The fact that you let Bryce walk and you let Anthony Rendon walk, especially Rendon after the performance he had in the World Series when they won it, to me it just shows that they don't value the players that they had. They're big money players.
Well, yeah, when they walk, it really doesn't show that.
But they have that fan base so convinced that it's those players' faults. We'll get to that. For a team that's only been around it'll be 16 years this season, I've always felt their fan base was extremely entitled. And now let me state now, we're both wearing Senators merchandise. The Senators are the AA affiliate of the Washington Nationals. I have no beef with Senators fans because every Senators fan I've ever been around has been very cool. They are knowledgeable at the sport and they're passionate about the sport.
And they're polite.
They're awesome. I love going to Senators games. It's why I support the Senators as well as I support the Reading Phillies. They're my two local minor league teams. I can go to both teams in the same amount of time, distance-wise. But Nats fans, I think they were former O's fans because who else were they? They weren't cheering for the Expos before the Expos became the Nats. They were probably O's fans. They left the O's to become Nats fans.
Well, what the O's really do, so they had to go somewhere
That's a whole other... I feel bad for O's and Pirates fans because those fans, they're storied franchises, and those fans deserve better than those teams' ownerships are giving them. That's just me. Nats fans are entitled. They've wanted to be the best team in baseball for so long. That freaking franchise has rode the Phils jocks for how long, taking whoever they could get from the Phils when the Phils didn't want them. And then for me, the biggest kicker, after they win the World Series, they freaking won the World Series 14 years into their franchise. That's pretty impressive. I'll give them that.
Yeah, that is.
What did their fan base focus more on? Did they focus on winning the World Series, or did they focus on the fact that Bryce Harper wasn't there anymore?
Bryce Harper.
They focused on Bryce frickin' Harper. What kind of fan base are you? What kind of fan are you that you care more about the person who left your team because your team didn't want to pay them over the World Series?
Dude, I'd be so pumped that the team won the World Series if I was them.
Exactly.
Team won the championship. Yeah, I would. Okay, yeah, he left. That's any team. And and I agree 100% with you. When your team, when your fan base doesn't care about the World Series, they just care about the player that left. That's a little much. That's a little ridiculous.
It was like, look, I'm a Phillies fan. And Philadelphia sports fans have a terrible reputation.
You think?
It was disgusting to see the way Nats fans were behaving because they won the World Series and they did it without Bryce Harper.
Well, that was the whole thing. They, just because Bryce Harper was there the whole time, and I think the National fans expected Harper, not the rest of the team, but Harper to take them to the World Series and win it. Instead of the team actually doing it, but then when he didn't and he moved on to the Phillies, that just kind of haha, you left now, and basically they just kept making fun of him instead of actually focusing on the actual team. Right.
And to me, that's a hallmark of a bad fan base. That's a toxic fan base, in my opinion. Look, I was not I didn't go all in on Harper until probably when McCutchen went down with the injury, and I saw him step up to be a team leader.
He stepped up all right.
Because of how I saw him in Washington. But now the Bryce Harper we're seeing in Philly, that's a totally different person. I think that's a person who's happy where he's playing because he's treated so well by the fan base.
Well, here's the thing. The Philly fan base may be ruthless, but they are loyal as anything. So it doesn't matter if you're having a bad season, they're still going to be there to support you. Despite they made everything else. For
comparison's sake, every time Bryce Harper has gone back to Washington, it's a sellout crowd, and they go there strictly to boo him. They go there strictly to heckle him, to make him miserable when he comes up to the bat, right?
Yeah.
Chase Utley was traded from the Phils to the Dodgers. Every time Chase Utley came back, sellout crowd, he got a standing ovation every time he came up to bat.
Well,
why are Philadelphia Phillies fans given a bad reputation?
Well, Santa Claus.
That was Eagles fans.
Philadelphia in general.
Eagles fans in the 60s, not Phillies fans. But I'm just saying, one team's fan base appreciates the work ethic that these guys put in even after they have left. Another team's franchise fan base could care less.
Well, I think it's more of the Philly fan base is more of love for their sport, love for their teams. Not just
if you work hard, those fans will love you for life. Randall Cunningham being an example.
Oh, absolutely. Hell. Drawing a blank here. We went to the game. Schultz? Dave Schultz, yep, that's one. But I was thinking more of Phillies here.
Mike Schmidt, John Kruk. Jimmy
Kruk,
Rollins.
Exactly.
Aaron Dalton, Lenny Dykstra. Well, Dykstra's maybe questionable.
Yeah. But
how's the slot?
but just those players there. I mean, it's just you love you love them. And like you said, Chase Utley, he went to the Dodgers, came back to Philly, standing ovation. I mean, everybody, nobody booed him.
Right.
And that's the thing with Philly fan base is that they love their players, not like the Nationals who are just like, haha, you left. And that's all that's all they have.
It was total sore winners. And to me that speaks of a fan base that they don't really care about the team. It was haha, look at what we did.
Exactly. Instead of like, we won the World Series.
Let's celebrate this. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's be like the Cowboys and hold on to this forever.
Well, I don't think anyone on the Nats beat up a volunteer referee for anything.
No, but it's. Yeah,
and here's the thing: a lot of those players we've seen play for the Senators, so we know. Like, we saw Harper at the Senators, we saw Rendon, I've seen Soto and heard him on Nats radio calls because I listened to them, or not Nats, Senators radio games a ton. We've seen these guys come up. We know they're good players. So I wasn't surprised when the Nats won a World Series with these guys. It was just the way that fan base was behaving. It was disgusting. So I never really dug the Nationals. I disliked them immensely because of their fan base.
Yeah, their fan base is it's just not right.
No. What's your next one?
Yankees. I picked them just because it's just like, what was it, 2009 that they beat the Phillies in the World Series for starters? Yeah, I know. I just opened up a wound. I know. Sorry.
That A-Rod home run should have been a ground rule double because it bounced off the wall.
Once again, it's the Yankees. This is one of the reasons why we just love to hate them, just because
I don't know if I can say
thing.
I hate the Yankees, though. I don't know if I can say that. Because
it's just one where just like the Patriots, they're always winning. They always have to like, we want to redo something. Let's go after a big name player because we have the money.
And that's the epitome of when George Steinbrenner was in charge.
Yeah, if they had the money, they're going to go for it.
But now
it's
here's
just
the thing:
a money grubber.
They had the money this year, and they didn't spend a lot. They could have got a lot of players if they wanted to, and they didn't. They got the players they wanted. All guys that were within their team for the most part. But it's easy to hate on the Yankees because all you'll ever hear is 27. 27 rings, 27 rings.
That's all you're going to hear.
We got it. And you know what? I get it. Because who else has done it? No one.
Nobody.
No one's been that successful in any professional sport. No one has that type of success. No one has that kind of storied franchise. So their fans, in comparison to the Nats, their fans are justified in being obnoxious.
Yeah, agree with that.
My thing with the Yankees is eventually they're going to run out of numbers. Because they have so many retired jersey numbers.
Yeah, they do. Now, a team that actually has that much success, not recently, not lately, was the Montreal Canadiens with 24. With 24 Stanley Cups. But that's the closest.
It's on my old laptop, deviation time. So for one of my classes, and I forget which one it was, I had to do a project. And my project was, it was the ultimate chart of sports team success. So I listed every team from every sport that's ever existed, and based their winning records, their overall winning, overall losing, championships, all that stuff. And you could sort it by anything you wanted to. I think it was a spreadsheet class, actually. And no one percentage-wise touched the Yankees. The Yankees' overall win-loss percentage in playoffs was so much greater than every other team in any other sport because they're just that good.
That's the reason why you just love to hate them, just because of that. They're just constantly winning. Like every time they make the playoffs, just like the Patriots. Here we go again.
So one of the things I respect about the Yankees fan base, because for me a lot of this is fan base. Their fans are knowledgeable, and their fans, like, there's very few Johnny-come-lately Yankees fans unless they're like a baby. A lot of people grow up as Yankees fans. Can't say the same thing about Red Sox fans. There's a lot of Red Sox fans that didn't exist until 2004, and a lot of them are within our age group.
Well, just like when the Capitals, when they drafted Ovechkin, all of a sudden people became Capitals fans. Just like when Crosby went to Pittsburgh, people became Pittsburgh fans.
Right. But I think I get why it's easy to dislike the Yankees, and there's times I dislike the Yankees. But at the end of the day, with the Yankees, I always go back to I respect their fan base and franchise because of the storied nature of the franchise and their and what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't got it. Continue.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and waste time. Go ahead.
But yeah, no, it's just one of those things to where it's just like the Patriots. When the Yankees make the playoffs, you expect them to win just because they're just that successful in that, at that point.
Right.
So it's just one of those things to where you, once again, if you have two teams, you both hate them, you take the lesser of the evils, whoever's playing the Yankees, you just root for them. Just like we said against the Patriots. So right. That's my thought on it.
No, I get it and I understand it. It's not like I don't. I do.
So yeah, those were the picks. So that'd be the end of period 3.
That was a lot of fun. We might lose some listeners because of this.
We might get some hate mail.
Probably more because of me than you, because I'm very passionate on the few teams I dislike.
Really? You are? You couldn't tell.
Here's the thing. I don't dislike a lot of teams, though. But the ones I do, I just dislike immensely.
Well, like we just said, for you, it's more of the fan base. So just like we said, just like say with the Nationals, their fan base is, what'd you say, entitled?
Entitled and toxic, yeah.
So they rather focus on the hatred of a player rather than we just won the championship.
That really sealed the deal for me with them. I mean, I always disliked the Nats and their fan base, but I really disliked their fan base based on those actions. Who
wouldn't? Well, who wouldn't? I mean, that's just, like you said, sore winners. Right. I mean, you win a championship and let's just tackle the player that left.
Again, I don't hold any Harrisburg Senators fans responsible for that. They're good people. They're good fans.
We enjoy going to those games and talking to those fans.
I enjoy going to those games. I enjoy talking to those fans, and they're very passionate about the Senators franchise in general. And some of those people that go to those games,
a hot dog.
Those spot dogs are amazing. As someone who used to go to the actual spot before it closed, they're amazing. Sens fans, there's some who've been going since the team came back in '87.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been there since the Pittsburgh affiliation, the Expos affiliation, and now the Nats affiliation. Those are diehard fans, and I respect the crap out of those people.
Well, the Harrisburg Senators, I mean, hell, they were in a movie. The field was in a movie.
Yeah, it was the spring training home for Major League Two. Yeah, and they're they're championship wise one of the storied franchises in Double A.
Yeah,
they've won a lot of championships, and they had some great teams.
Now when they call this, City Island, it's literally an island.
Okay, so that's my only complaint is about the stadium is because it's on an island. Those seats are so crammed together.
And when it rains, the whole field gets flooded.
Yes. So before we wrap this up, let's get to a plug. So for our friends of the show, Brad and Brig from the Baseball Together podcast, join them every week for some fun baseball talk. You can find them at anchor.fm/baseball-together and wherever else you can find podcasts. They're also on YouTube, and from what I've heard, they are now on TikTok. I don't know what they're doing on TikTok because I don't have it, but I know they are on it. So they're good guys. Give them a listen to. I think we'll be having them on at some point during the baseball season.
That'd be definitely for interesting talks.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you for joining us for episode 14 of the Not Another Sports podcast. You can find us online at facebook.com/notanothersportspod. Feel free to like, comment, or message us. The Not Another Sports podcast is available for streaming or download at anchor.fm, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are also on YouTube. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on there as well. With that, we will talk to you next time.
Have a good one.